portal fun!
Yep, it's gonna be classic episodes, Morty, full commentary, rude characters. Here we go, Rick and Morty time!
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is my full Rick and Morty Season 6, Episode 6 video. There's a whole bunch of Easter eggs and references, so we'll break it all down. If you're brand new to the channel, I'm doing videos for all the episodes. Be sure to subscribe to get them. Also explain what's happening with the brief break that it's going on. It'll come back for the rest of the episodes in a couple weeks. Careful for spoilers from the episode if you haven't seen it yet. We'll just start at the beginning and go through shot by shot, talking about Easter eggs and WTF moments as we go along. Starting with the episode title, it was called Juricksic Mort, a reference to the original Jurassic Park movie. This is the second episode to directly parody Jurassic Park. The original one was during Anatomy Park in Season 1. This time it's a little bit more of a literal reference because of the actual dinosaurs in the episode, but the actual plot of the episode is meant to be a combination of Jurassic Park with a parody of the Arrival movie in the aliens coming to Earth, during which the aliens offer these great things with no apparent ill intent behind it, like they're not trying to do something sinister or take over the planet. So in the episode, this pushes Rick's buttons because, as he says, he doesn't believe that the dinosaurs are truly being selfless. Like, there's no difference between being selfish and being selfless, and they're really just trying to high road everyone and prove how they're superior to everyone else. They made a joke about this on South Park. It's like getting high by sniffing your own farts, basically. Rick successfully proves during the episode that everybody acts a little bit selfish in some way, when they do finally relent and kill their enemy. They also further prove his point when they close his rift, which he specifically asked them not to do, like that was their petty way of getting back at him for getting at them in the first place. In previous seasons, they always have jokes about how they're going to do sequels to the interdimensional cable episode, but then never actually do it. This entire episode was full of references like that, like things and people, characters, big ideas that they set up but never actually pay off. Actually paying off a couple of things during the episode, especially the portal guns. I believe his brand of beer has been featured before on the series, and the portal that he throws it in is just a joke to him being so lazy that he doesn't want to get off the couch, so he just portals it to another place on the planet, because at this early point in the episode, he hasn't totally fixed interdimensional travel yet. They set up the joke with the rift in space just sitting there not doing anything. Like I said, it's one of the many moments in the episode where they joke on plot points that they haven't paid off yet, like big things that they set up and then never actually do anything with. They wind up paying that moment off with a big fourth wall break where he starts talking about the actual television show, like we could have milked that for an entire season or at least a 3-episode arc, but Rick has known that he's a fictional character inside a television show since Season 1. Like even in last week's episode, he made another reference to being a fictional character inside a television show. They set up the whole bit with the portal gun being almost finished when he brings through the Cthulhu monster from all the opening credit scenes in every single episode on accident. I love that he sprays it with water like a cat and that's enough to get it to go away, like it's a big cat, basically. There have been so many theories across the many seasons about when they'd finally do a Cthulhu episode, and like I said, this whole episode just making jokes about them not paying off big plot points that they set up is meant to pay the Cthulhu plot point off from the beginning of the series. When they're in the car and he admits to Morty that he's purposefully slowing his work on the portal gun and fixing things like fixing the rift is because Morty won't stop asking him about it, is also the writers of the show directly addressing the fans, kind of making a joke about the fans bothering them about writing episodes and seasons that are more like the original seasons, like the original dynamic of the show. So it's like Rick is speaking as if he were Dan and Justin, speaking directly to the fans, saying, the more you bother us about the show, the more we'll prolong making it like it used to be. That's also part of his rant at the end of the episode too, like, we're gonna be doing way more canon stuff, way more core characters, way more fun portal adventures where we go and wreck stuff. When Morty goes to his classroom, Mr. Goldenfold and the rest of the class also acknowledge all the crazy stuff that's happened during the run of the series in between episodes when they freak out at the sight of him, like it's meant to be a bunch of adventures that we haven't seen during the actual episodes. Previously, we've seen other people at the school reference the events of previous episodes, but I think their reference to the previous adventures this time is way more overt than it's ever been before. Like it's them acknowledging that every episode is about something crazy happening to the planet. Zoom in and hands on the chalkboard, there's a ton of jokes all over the chalkboard, and this is true of pretty much all the episodes that take place in his classroom. It says Morty and Corey already have detention. There's a couple of dongs all over the chalkboard. Up here on the left it says babies come from space, which is another reference to Morty and Summer's baby Naruto, which they also referenced earlier this season, and they reference again at the end of the episode as well, like they keep referencing the space baby. They've already referenced it several times this season. That's another one of those major plot points that they haven't completely wrapped up yet. Mr. Goldenfold references a bunch of other adventures that we didn't see during the actual episodes, like that happened between the episodes, the latest one being him being forced to lick all the toilets, which he's super self-conscious about apparently. Then when the dinosaur spaceships arrive, the actual physical spaceships are a reference to the spaceships from the Arrival movie. There are a couple of special guest stars in the episode. Lisa Kudrow, everybody probably recognized, and if you didn't recognize him, Jason Mraz, the musician, also plays one of the dinosaurs. Obviously, Keith David comes back as the US president as well. On the news, the Chiron also makes a reference about the events of previous episodes with previous alien attacks, like do these ones come in peace for once as opposed to all the other times? You could also call that a big Get Swifty reference too, because it's another president episode. They have a real weird pizza mamma mia Italian reference with these characters across a couple different scenes. And then the new canon backstory for the Rick and Morty multiverse, like this is actually canon to the history of their world along with the rest of the multiverse as well, is that dinosaurs evolved on Earth, became a spacefaring race, most of them left the planet trying to help other planets thrive. They developed their own portal tech many eons before Rick did. It's way more advanced than Rick's portals. And then they decided it would be more noble to help their own universe before going to help other people's universes. They make a whole mask virus joke about that too, like it's better to put your own mask on before yelling at other people about putting their masks on. It was a very politically charged episode. They also explained that what happened is that as these dinosaurs were evolving, this other life form was de-evolving, and this is where you get to like another big political metaphor, because the dinosaurs are meant to be like this alt-left crowd that gets super liberal, and the meteorite race that de-evolved and is like their archenemy is meant to be the alt-right. So it's the whole idea that the alt-right is always coming for the alt-left. And it's like a mutually assured destruction scenario. And when Rick is commenting on that later in the episode, he's making jokes about the culture war, like how this is bad for everybody. Like no actual problems are getting solved, like it's just a bunch of people yelling at a bunch of other people. When they pull up the list of technological advancements, they also include stuff like anime body pillows, celebrity presidents is a Trump joke, Amazon Prime, comments sections, Dogecoin, and just social media in general. They make a ton of Marvel movie references too. When they say that they've now done 29 so far and 14 more on the way, that's actually accurate up to Thor Love and Thunder. There have been 29 Marvel Studios movies. The 14 more that he references start with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, which will actually come out later this season. I've already done a big trailer video for it, so I'll link it below in the description. All the way up to Avengers 6 Secret Wars. The president then makes an Avengers Endgame Thanos reference when he talks about the invasion, and then they make an Ant-Man 3 Quantumania reference when he suggests that they finish rounding out Ant-Man's character. I think this is also the first time that we learned that the president's first name is Curtis. Then the dinosaurs fix everything, there's no more world hunger, like it's meant to be this perfect planet, like no more suffering, no more want for anything. The whole song that they play over this montage is also them just repeating the names of real dinosaurs that just sound super weird, like these are all real dinosaurs. They clown on Tyler Perry movies, they make a joke about most of the audience for young female TikTokers being pedos, which isn't totally wrong, like there's definitely a lot of that going on in real life, so watch out. When Summer says she's broke, that's also ironic because creators on TikTok really get paid terribly to begin with, so even if she was doing really well on TikTok with those dance videos, she would not have been earning a ton of money to begin with. Rick clowns on the family for basically turning into versions of Jerry, like utterly useless people that don't do anything, which they pay off with his book that he wrote all about his philosophy about not failing because you never try. Like as long as you don't try, you can never fail. Which they also pay off at the end of the episode when Jerry has to try to write a second book and thus begins to fail. That's why he gives up in defeat all depressed, because he finally failed again, like he has trouble starting the second book, so he's trying, meaning that he's failing again. On his computer, if you look around, he's got locations of the pieces of the Titanic because it broke into pieces when it sank. He's got a beekeeper video, which is a callback to his beekeeping in the episode where Summer's friend wanted to bang him. The delete this folder is probably just more cringe stuff like you would expect from Jerry. His first forgotten stuff folder is full of pandas falling, snake wearing a miniskirt, ugly dog pics. They're meant to be references to old memes that the world has forgotten, like just old stuff that used to be cool. In his other forgotten stuff folder, he's got 3 copies of his manuscript with jokes about how it's the final version, like, no, this is the final one, then no, this is the final one. Like he keeps writing new versions of his manuscript about not trying, but the whole ethos is that you're not supposed to try. If you actually read the opening text to this page here, it reads like a 3rd grader wrote it, but there's another reference to Morty and Summer's space baby in it, like he mentions it, then says that he doesn't want to talk about it. Then I think they've done Molly jokes with the president in the past, but they have another one which they pay off when he keeps what Rick gave him and then takes it at the end of the episode and tries to come on to him. The whole bit with the ribs joint is actually a joke about House of Cards. On that show, the Frank character would go to this ribs joint all the time. And he had a similar relationship with that owner as they do during the Rick and Morty episode. They have another Westworld joke when they reveal that the owner is actually a robot that Rick created, like he created this whole scenario. They also make it seem like they meet at this rib joint on the regular too. They make a ton of super specific YouTube jokes, and if you spend a lot of time on YouTube, you'll recognize that all of this is real stuff, like the autoplay joke about just watching random videos one right after the other, and the joke about seeing the Grammarly ads too many times just because that ad shows up all over YouTube all the time. And no joke, when I was making this video and I was looking for some B-roll of my YouTube channel to include for this part of the video to talk about YouTube, a Grammarly ad queued up automatically when I clicked on one of my videos. Rick and Morty being super meta and speaking the truth. The president makes a Zero Dark 30 reference, that was the movie about the military killing bin Laden. He also calls Rick autistic, which Rick implied that he was in a previous episode. And he bargains with the president to become the host of the next Oscars. And they make a big joke about Hollywood at the end of the episode too, about how it doesn't really matter, like nobody actually cares about the Oscars because it's all scripted. Morty makes a reference to the original Jurassic Park movie, that was a line of dialogue from the original movie, which he later complains to Rick about for not acknowledging his reference. They make a Dr. Manhattan teleportation reference because when the dinosaurs teleport them back to the garage, the way that they teleport them looks similar to the way that Dr. Manhattan teleports people, and also kind of blows people up at the same time too. It almost looks like the same thing. He makes a Sean Penn virtue signaling joke about people who used to be terrible and then overcorrect, becoming super political later in life to try and make up for being terrible when they were younger. I think the ironic 90s genius reference is about a movie of the same name from the 90s with a character like Morty who's a genius that pretends to be a badass in order to gain more friends. When he makes the reference about the zines, those were also small magazines that people self-publish, which is also something that happened back in the 80s and the 90s before social media sites like YouTube really took off. He makes another Jurassic Park Laura Dern reference to fishing in the dinosaur poop. And on all these planets that they go to, they make these jokes about them being super dumb and not understanding history and thinking the dinosaurs did all these weird things, coming up with these big theories about what they actually did, which they pay off at the end of the episode saying that the theories were actually correct. Like the dinosaurs did actually ride around on skateboards, which I believe is meant to be a Denver the Last Dinosaur cartoon reference just because he was a skateboarding dinosaur. The second planet they visit makes a more literal Jurassic Park reference when they say they're going to create their own Jurassic Park movies like our own bad movies about cloning dinosaurs in theme parks. Rick references Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, which either means that he really likes playing retro games because that game's from the early 2000s, or 20 years ago he was also playing video games before Morty was born. Then I already explained the sentient meteor species is meant to be the show's metaphor for the alt-right, just in general. They make a joke about Apple keynote speeches. I'm not sure why they stole Jerry's book, maybe because they wanted to avoid paying him money, just because they wanted to show you they were kind of dirtbags, really. And they also wanted the entire planet to give up and stop fighting them on everything, so that's why they wanted everybody to read and believe in Jerry's ethos. In keeping with their 90s jokes, Rick interrupts them with a very 90s looking video on the big screen. They have an Anderson Cooper bit, like he does actually have a show called Anderson Cooper 360 in real life. They have a Joe Rogan podcast joke, and this is actually what his podcast set looks like. They also have a joke about all the products that he usually does ads for on his show, like the DMT stuff, the CBD stuff. He's a big smoker. The whole thing with the rear naked chokehold is just a joke about him being into MMA. They do a Wendy Williams daytime talk show bit. Then they pay off the bit about the president using Rick as a dealer, who comes on to Rick and kind of ignores him, like, yeah, it's just the Molly talking. At the Oscars, they have a bunch of parodies of real-life celebrities, and one of the reasons why I think that they had the Oscars bit was to say that a lot of these celebrities are also kind of high on their own farts and trying to be superior than everyone else, kind of like the dinosaurs were in the episode. This huge dude, obviously meant to be The Rock with the tattoos all over him, Ted Danson, his wife Mary Steenburgen, Johnny Depp is behind them, this is Adam Driver. Rick makes a joke about everyone in Hollywood being communist, which is a callback to the old Hollywood blacklist in the 1950s. They do the Tom Hanks Wilson bit from Castaway, and then they make a joke about Will Smith slapping Chris Rock when he says, everything at the Oscars is scripted, even that one thing. Then Rick actually calls out the dinosaurs for thinking they're superior to everyone by allowing themselves to be killed by the meteorite. He makes another reference to him fixing his portal gun but procrastinating it. When he lands on Mars, in the background you can see the NASA rover from real life, like that's currently on Mars right now as we speak. He makes an Elon Musk reference because in real life, Elon Musk has this huge goal to get humans to Mars to establish a Mars colony, and he's pumping a bunch of money and energy into it, way more than a lot of the other rich people in the world. Him getting the dinosaurs to actually kill the asteroid is just proving that they are also just a little bit self-interested. And they get him back by closing up his rift, which he then breaks the fourth wall, referencing the show, talking about how they could have milked it for an entire season, maybe 3-episode arc. Back at home, when Summer comments on it being way too hot outside, that's just a reference to global warming. Like, now that the dinosaurs have left, global warming is a problem again for them. The crypto for bears toes joke on her social media is a spam joke. Like, my account in real life gets all kinds of spam replies like this on the regular. And earlier, the dinosaurs had cleaned up social media, gotten rid of the weirdos, all of the spam, but now that they're gone, all that stuff has come back to social media. I already explained the Jerry joke, like he's a failure again now because he has to try, and now he's failing thus at making his second book. But in the ending, Rick finally fixes his portal gun, they pay off the Boob World joke again. Morty's already been to Boob World, like they've referenced it in several episodes before. And his rant this season is all about the show going back to its old formula, like doing more canon stuff, doing core characters, more social commentary, we're gonna be wrecking stuff all over the multiverse. So we'll see how they pay that off in episode 7, or if they don't pay it off, like maybe that's the joke. In the actual post-credit scene, they pay off the joke about the dinosaurs actually riding skateboards and partying the way that the aliens believe they did. Like, all of their theories about what they actually got up to were totally true. And the big reminder is that the show is on break till November 30th, and then they'll just air the rest of the 4 episodes to the beginning of December.
Repeat after me, Morty. Next time on Rick and Morty. Next time on Rick and Morty?
So like I said, the big question is how they're going to pay off this rant from the end of episode 6. Like, will the show actually do what they said that they were going to do? Or is it a callback to the entire episode where they joke about them not paying off big plot points that they set up? If you spotted any other Easter eggs or references in the episode that I didn't talk about in the video, just write them below in the comments. And my next video will post as soon as episode 7 releases in a couple weeks. While you wait for everything, everyone click here for my House of the Dragon episode 9 video, and click here for my new episode 8 video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.